Mr. Brian Smith, Ted Smith and Sons from 69 Brodgate Otley. Retail furniture, really. Selling beds and high seat chairs. Very quiet this morning, really. I think people are more interested in Grand National today rather than... We've sold 2 beds today, so which is, I suppose, not too bad. We'd like a few more, but still. We'd like to be able to sell 5 a day, but it's doing very, very well if we do that. If we can sell 2 a day, we're quite happy, generally. Most of the people are second-time buyers rather than... A lot of the young people tend to go looking around the big stores. But most of our customers are people who've experienced that, and then they've come to us where they're now going to get some proper service. I think people trust us as a company. We've been here over 100 years, and you don't last that long if you try and work nasty tricks on people. We like to give good service at a reasonable price, and that's it. Well, the first records we can find go back to 1895, but in those days it was my grandfather, but he was a second-hand dealer, and it was only when the war years came that he started selling really new furniture, utility furniture it was called in those days. And then my father came back from the war and was working for my grandfather, was my grandfather, and then I moved on from there. So we new furniture from 1945, really. I mean, it obviously has affected us. I mean, but we'll never become millionaires. You know, we make a living. We'd like to think we could earn more, but I've never had one. I came into here at 16. I'm 76 now, so I've had 60 years of doing nothing but this job. Yeah, well, that and my family, yes, Julie and Kevin, they came into the business after me, but I worked for my father from being 16 till I can't. How long is this? My granddad died, yes. But I took control when I was about 35 years old, and from then on I've been my own boss, but I've had Kevin and Julie working with me all those years. I never really wanted to come into the business. It was forced upon me, really. But I had a stroke as a 12-year-old boy, and then I was in a wheelchair for 4 years, and before I was able to walk. And it was at 16 that I came into the business, really to do paperwork, book work. My father was going to be running the business, me doing the paperwork. So I went to a college to learn how to do bookkeeping, shorthand typing, and do that. But developed that. I got stronger and stronger until I could finally nearly do as well as a fully able body, and I've done that all my life. I'd like to play sport, you know, but I mean that it didn't happen. Saying that, I wouldn't swap it for anything. I wouldn't want to do anything else now. It's been my life. It's my little baby. I've brought my family up with it as well, and I hope they feel like I do. I want it to continue as long as I possibly can. Oh, I know that. I like a gamble. And I love my sport, watching. But apart from that, I work. I enjoy this. I enjoy what I'm doing. It is my hobby. I like to go down to the casino occasionally and just have a few bob on the roulette wheel. But I have to be very careful about the tax man, don't I? I think the majority of them are fabulous. It's like everybody else. There are always some poor ones around, but most of the generally I think they're okay. All of that I know anyway are all right. I wouldn't, I think they're doing a reasonably good job under very, very difficult circumstances. I would feel sorry for anybody who was sat in this position, be it Labour, Liberal or Conservative, whoever is in, a hell of a job to try and sort out the mess we're in. It's as simple as that. Ooh, now I could get myself in a lot of trouble. I would be a lot more strict with criminals. I would go back to 1945, where you go into if a policeman was killed, and it was found to, it was proved to be that especially with DNA, I'd bring hanging back. You may not like it. Lots of people may not, but I'd bring back the birch. Yes, I would, and anybody who acts like idiots deserve what they get. Corporal punishment, yes. Yeah. What would I put on have with me on a desert island? As much food as possible. Leave my wife at home. No, I've only had one real love in my life, and I've married her. No. I hope I'll never get on a desert island, that's all. Well, we've been on holiday, but we're generally together all the time. So, last time we were in Malta, we actually took Maureen's sister with us, and it was lovely. We had a really super holiday. For the camera, I can't tell you.
Well, to be honest, we've been very lucky. We don't feel it has affected us. Pauline Coulter's, Sweet Treats, shopkeeper. Very well, we've been quite busy today. This afternoon we've just gone a little bit quiet, but then usually mid-afternoon we're queuing up of the shops. We're queuing outside to come in. It varies. We get young children coming in to buy the penny sweets, and then we get the grown-ups with the nostalgic, buying the traditional sweets, and then we get the older generation coming in for the sugar-free, because we do quite a good range of sugar-free, and for the diabetics. So we cover quite a lot of different age groups. Midget Gems, Lion's Midget Gems is the most popular. If you like chewy sweets and like licorice, you probably like those. That's right, yes, because as I say, we are fair with them. We give them samples to take away with them if they want. We always usually give them a little bit more than they ask for, so they get a fair deal. And we always try, if it's something they're really wanting, that we will try and get it in for them. So it's here when they next come. 6 years now. Accountancy. I was a clerk in one of the big companies. Well, I retired actually, and then I was offered. I used to help out at the sweet shop that was owned by the gentleman before me, and then he didn't want to do it anymore, so my husband had a heart attack and couldn't work as such, so we decided, oh well, we'll have a go at this. So I came out of retirement and worked at the shop ever since. Yes, it hasn't really affected us as such, because we found that although people have cut the cloth with muddy and that and the other, that they've still wanted the sweets. They've not wanted to go without that little bit of happiness, I suppose. So we have not had to struggle as much as some of the other shops. I mean, it's on the borderline, but we've managed to cope. And then, of course, we've opened up the sweets into toys, just to cater for the other. People sometimes just come in, sometimes they don't buy, just to remember their childhood and things that they used to get that they can still get. And they go away happy. My first job was in London, when I used to live in London, and I was in a typing pool that they used to have worked for the electricity board, and they had typing pools. And that's how I first started from school. I was in a typing pool doing printing and copy typing from the director of the company. Used to come down into the typing pool with all the work and schedules, private stuff, you know, everything really. We catered for everything, and then everything had to be checked, so we used to take it in turns to check all day long everybody's typing. And, I wanted to be a concert pianist to start with, because I did like playing music, but I wasn't good enough really. And then I wanted to be a gymnast, because I enjoyed sport, but none of those things came about. Take my grandchildren out actually, or have my grandchildren around. I'm teaching one of my grandchildren to play the piano at the moment, so that's quite adventurous for us both. And I do like walking, and I do go to the pictures with my sister-in-law, and just a bit of everything really. You know, I like music, so we go to concerts and things like that just to keep us active really. It's varied. I do worry about, say, my grandchildren's ages at the moment, because I wonder what kind of world they're going to grow into. Because some of the teenagers, I feel, are very brusque, haven't got manners. Not everybody, but I would say majority of them, 80% of them, are coming up with an attitude of I want, I'll get, doesn't matter about anybody else, and which is a bit sad, because we came in a generation where you helped everybody out, and a lot of the youth today don't do that. You do, I mean, it's not everybody, but the percentage of them are very aggressive, I would say. So, like a lot of older people are a bit nervous of, if they see a group of teenagers together, you worry what's going to happen. Yeah. And it's sad. It varies. Sometimes I think he's doing a good job, and other times I think he's looking after the better off people and not looking after the ones that are struggling. It's a bit difficult to say really, because thinking about the group that we're in before, they're all much of a muchness actually when it comes to politics. They all seem to go the same way. They start off doing what they're going to do, and then they change, because either when they get into Parliament they find things are not what they thought they would be, and they try to get it right, and it doesn't suit everybody. I think unless you're in the governments, you don't really know what goes on behind the scenes. I would just try to make it a happier place really, but you know, that's a pipe dream I think, but just trying to be fair with everybody, you know, which is very difficult. No, not quite so much as that, but I like cheerful. I think if people go around with a smile on their face, everybody seems to gain from that, and you find it's like when the sun's out, everybody seems to be smiling, but when it's dark and dull they go around with miserable faces, and it's just nice. I think everybody feels a bit more energetic. A book that I've been trying to read for a while is Mandela's book that he did, and I've got it at home, but I've never had a chance to read it, and I would like to sit down and just read that from start to finish. I have been married more than once. Well, it was with my husband actually. When our first date was at my sister-in-law's house. we met there, and then we went out from there.
James Barber, director of Jane Barber Tobacconists. Pretty good. Yeah, the sun's shining. It's brought a few people out, and yeah, things going well. We get all age groups. I would say predominantly middle age, but we get young people in. We're getting more young guys coming in and buying pipes now because it's becoming a bit more retro. Cigars are as popular as ever. And we get more ladies in nowadays. We do have a bit of a gift section as well, so things are pretty good. I think because we're so well established and the shop is quite unique, there's only 35 specialist tobacconists in the UK, and I will put ourselves in the top 10. And you know, people like the fact the business has been around 150 years. It's very family orientated, all the family work here. It's a nice place to shop, unusual things.
Years
well, I
ago.
said 150, it's just short of 150.
Yeah.
It'll be 150 years in 2017. It's the oldest family run business in Otley. There are businesses that claim to be older, but they've changed hands. Also, it's the oldest family run tobacconist in the UK. Again, there's 3 or 4 that have been established longer but have changed hands to different families. But this is in the same family since 1867. I wouldn't say it has really. It's quite common knowledge that when there's a recession, people worry a bit more and they smoke more, so sometimes recessions can help the tobacco trade. My first job, when I was at school, I worked on Otley Market on a fruit stall. Then I went and worked in Valence's, had to buy myself a suit. Valence's was an electrical store where Mounties stands now, and I had a Saturday job there. And then I also washed up in an Italian restaurant that used to be called the Adriatico, a very famous restaurant in Otley. And I graduated from washer up to commis chef, but I realised catering wasn't the life for me, and I ended up being an apprentice plumber of all things. And then after being an apprentice plumber, I went to work in Monobond, which was a factory making plumbing components. And when I was eventually promoted to management there, I came home and my father told me to refuse the job because I was now ready to come into family business. So it was quite a long learning curve, but best thing that could have happened to me. Yeah, and I think that was a good thing, because if I'd come straight into the business, I wouldn't have respected money as much and respected the business as much, but seeing life on the other side, working for other people, it gave me a hunger to do well in the family business. 18, yeah. But there again, I worked in the shop from being 11 or 12 years old, even opening the shop up sometimes at 12 years old. So I worked part-time for my father on and off between all the other jobs. A hairdresser. I always had a bit of an artistic flair, and I thought I could convert my artistic talents into hairdressing. And I had a thing about weird hairstyles. Things like David Bowie, when he had all his hair spiky and that, and nobody else had hair like that. I really wanted to be a hairdresser. And in actual fact, at one point I did go and get a job at Vidal Sassoon's, but never started the job because my father asked me to come in the family business. But it was something I always wanted to do. And then I went and married a hairdresser. For fun, I enjoy swimming, keeping fit. I enjoy driving my car, and I enjoy travelling. Well, I started another business about 10 years ago, and I import from China, Hong Kong, India, all Europe. So, for instance, today I've just got back from Italy, been on a visit to a pipe factory there, buying very expensive pipes. I took one of my customers from London out there. In just under 2 weeks' time, I'll be going out to Hong Kong. I'll have 4 days in Hong Kong, then go on to China, all to exhibitions out there where I'll be buying for the company, and then back to Hong Kong for another 2 exhibitions, and who knows where I'll be next, but I do get all around the world with the job, so it's quite nice. The other business we do, it started by accident. I went out 10 years ago to Hong Kong thinking I would be able to buy products from my own shop. I was disappointed with the products that were available for men, and also the way they were packaged. So I went out to Hong Kong with a view of buying for my own shop, and I went with a friend of mine who also had a few shops. And when we got there, we found out we had to buy in huge quantities, like thousands of each item. So just on the spur of the moment, we decided to go into business and set up a company just importing men's gifts. So the first thing we brought in was hip flasks, whiskey flasks, pocket watches. We now do a lot of shaving, gents grooming, which is very popular. We do every kind of razor, from the cutthroat razors, safety razors, traditional shaving brushes, shaving soaps, creams, cufflinks, ties, really anything for the man. Pipes. A few years ago it would have been cigars, but it's really turned round now, and I think because of the smoking ban, we do have an exception here when sampling cigars that I can smoke indoors, but because of the smoking ban, people haven't got time to enjoy a cigar outside. where with a pipe they can have a few puffs on it, put it back in a pocket, have another few puffs. The other thing is, you know, a few years ago my generation saw smoking a pipe as a granddad thing to do. Nowadays the younger guys that were step one generation, so they now see it as a retro thing to do, and they're not ashamed to be smoking a pipe, which is good. It means there's some, you know, future to the industry, and it is a great industry. As I say, I visited a pipe factory in Italy yesterday, and it really is an art form. It's fantastic. I would hate to see that lost. No, at the moment we don't do electronic cigars or pipes. I don't think they've got it right. The flavour's not good. It just tastes like an electronic cigarette, so you might as well smoke an electronic cigarette. It was something I avoided getting into at first. I wasn't sure about the safety aspects, and then I found it something I couldn't ignore. I mean, for instance, in Italy I found out yesterday that 10% of smokers are now on electronic cigarettes. It's huge business, and I realised it was growing in the UK when I attended the Dortmund tobacco, which is like a European tobacco fair, in October of last year. And the year before there were 2 stands there doing electronic cigarettes. This year there were 36 stands. So I knew I couldn't ignore it. So we now distribute a brand called XEO across the UK, which in my mind is the best electronic cigarette. Not as well known as some of the other brands, but far superior in flavour. It's got more powerful battery and everything. And we're doing very well with it. I'm sure it's going to get very big. The youth of today, in general, they're pretty good. There's the old ones who need to learn some manners. That's one thing that really gets me, manners that gone out the door, you know. Well, say gone out the door, when you open a door for somebody and they don't even turn around and say thank you. They don't stand back and hold the door open for a lady. I think the youth of today really could have done with learning some manners, you know. Current Prime Minister is okay. At the end of the day, they're all the same. The tax us in different ways. They all make mistakes. You know, I mean, my hero was Margaret Thatcher. And I don't think we'll ever have anybody like her again. I think she was brilliant. A lot of people didn't. Everything she did was fair. She was strong for the country. And, you know, we were the envy of the world. America would have loved Margaret Thatcher as their president. I would reduce taxation. I would like to see taxation at 20% across the board, and at the end of the day you get a lot more revenue. People wouldn't bother fiddling, it would get rid of the black market, and at the end of the day people would have an incentive to work and earn more money. All people do now, if people are making a lot of money, they find loopholes. You set up a limited company, you take dividends, you bang it into a pension fund, and so the government doesn't benefit. If you had a 20% flat rate, I'm sure the country would do a lot better. We'd have a lot more money to spend on hospitals and everything else. It would have to be an iPod, I think. I really can't live without music. I love music, I don't like silence. The nearest thing I've been to on a desert island was in the Maldives, and it drove me crazy. I was there for 16 days and I felt so isolated, even though there were other people there. I really like to go away where there's lots of hustle and bustle, like New York, Hong Kong. Most people like peace and quiet. I don't. I like the noise, you know. I really don't have a favourite track. I like all sorts of music. I like everything from classical to swing, pop, rock. Can't say I have a favourite. I've been listening to it on the plane. I've been listening to it on the train. Lots of things. You know, I have thousands of tunes on the iPod. So, first love interest, yes, I think so. I think the first, I'm not going to mention names, but I think the first bit of intimacy was when we used to build bonfires, coming up to bonfire night, and we used to make dens in the middle of bonfires. And I can remember sitting up and cuddling up to a girl inside a bonfire. Rather a dangerous thing to do because somebody could have set fire to it, but yeah, probably about 5 or 6 years old. My last date was with my wife, and we were at the Banyan Tree Hotel, the Vertigo Bar, which is a 59-storey bar overlooking Bangkok, and that was for a birthday.